It might have been predictable, but it doesn't make it any less sweet. Mommy has returned. What's going on, guys? Happy Monday. This should be a fun one. Pretty interesting episode of Monday Night Raw tonight with the expected return of Rhea Ripley. They announced the mixed tag, I think earlier on in the day today, with Liv Morgan and Dominic taking on Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega. And the first thing I thought of, well, that's the perfect setup for Mommy. And then during the show, they announced that this was going to be the main event. And I'm like, well, there you go. She is going to be here. I didn't waste any time. I threw her up on my overlay for tonight. All I had to do was wait for her to show up so I could do a thumbnail, and I was ready to rock. I was absolutely expecting Rhea Ripley back tonight now that Money in the Bank is over with. And now she can hopefully set up her match with Liv Morgan at SummerSlam. And I thought it was a pretty funny ending. They didn't need to do a whole lot there. Ripley just came out, chased Liv Morgan away. She went through the crowd and got out of Dodge. And then she immediately went into the ring, and Dominic, like a scalded dog, just down with his head down, tail between his legs. He knows he is in the literal doghouse. And I thought it was a really great ending of Raw tonight. So that's what we're here to talk about. But we're also here to talk about a lot more. In addition to tonight's WWE Raw review, we are, let me get Tito away. Tito, get out of here. Tito is messing with my, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. Get out of there. He's messing with my power cords again. Anyway, in addition to tonight's Raw review, we have a lot of other stuff to get into because this past week, last Monday, 1 week ago today, I was not here for a Raw review. I didn't even get a chance to see Dynamite this week until like yesterday. And we never even talked about SmackDown, really, which we have new WWE Tag Team Champions, but we were here on Saturday to watch Money in the Bank together, so there was no podcast. We were here last night to do a classic watch-along, so again, no podcast. My next available time to come up here and talk about anything was going to be tonight after Raw, so we are going to get into tonight's Raw review. We're going to talk about the show, what I thought of it, and some of the things they set up now for SummerSlam, and some of the things they hinted at and teased about, and we'll talk about the WWE side of things, SummerSlam coming up, what that card is going to look like, maybe circle back, talk about SmackDown a little bit too, because we have big news over there coming out of Money in the Bank with Solo Sikoa pinning Cody Rhodes in the main event that will probably secure him his title shot at SummerSlam. And much like we saw the return of Rhea Ripley tonight, SummerSlam is where I'm expecting the return of Roman Reigns. Unless he pulls a fast one and shows up on Friday, I don't think so. This sounds like a SummerSlam deal to me. So we will talk a lot about SummerSlam, how that card is shaping up, and we are no closer yet anyway to getting McIntyre and Punk official, as I don't know what Punk's deal is and storyline. They're still waiting for him to be cleared. So I guess they're going to wait a couple of more weeks here before officially making this match for SummerSlam, as Punk alluded to the fact tonight on Raw that he would not be on the show next week, but Drew McIntyre would. He was suspended after his behavior on Saturday night following Money in the Bank, but apparently that suspension will be lifted, and they are going to be taking a little bit more time to make that match official. But SummerSlam is looking pretty good. So is All In. Lots of news on AEW this week. They had, 3 big returns recently with Hangman Page, MJF, and Britt Baker. Ricochet is about to hit the scene. We have All In coming up. We have the final of the Owen Cup, finals of the Owen Hart Cup coming up, I believe, on Wednesday. This past Dynamite was Beach Break, and it was great. And there's a lot to talk about over there, too. Plus, a couple of wrestling news tidbits. Anything else you guys want to discuss tonight, we will get into it, because tonight is my final live stream for well over a week. If I'm lucky, maybe 9 days from now, maybe 1 week from Wednesday, I could come up here and do a post-Dynamite review, but I will have just returned from my vacation, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that yet. So most likely my next time live guaranteed is going to be 1 week from this Saturday. So you guys are going to have a long week away from no live streams here from me, and I apologize for that, but I am heading off to vacation tomorrow. I hop on a plane and I go to Hawaii, so I'm really excited for that. And I have some videos that I'm going to be releasing while I'm gone. I think I know the dates on these. We're going to release a members-only video on Wednesday. Elizabeth has joined me to watch a classic, or not a classic, but a pretty well-known SummerSlam match. And then on Thursday, I'm going to drop a video available to everyone. It's a Bret Hart SummerSlam related video, about an hour long. That'll hit the channel on Thursday. And then on Friday, I'm going to hit you with another members only video. Elizabeth watched 2 SummerSlam matches with me, 2 classics, or 2 well-known ones, I should say. So I'm going to drop one on Wednesday and one on Friday for the members. And then right in between there, this coming Thursday, big Bret Hart SummerSlam video for you guys, available to everyone to give you some content while I'm gone, because I am going to be gone kind of a while. Also, while I am on vacation, I will try to hit the channel with some shorts. Sometimes I put up YouTube shorts when I travel. I'll try to do that for you guys, especially if we get any sort of wrestling news or some major story breaks. Maybe I can pop up on my phone, give you guys a minute or two thoughts on it. So keep an eye out on the channel this week. Make sure you subscribe, click that notifications bell, all that jazz, because things are going to be a little bit different while I'm on vacation, but content will still be flowing into the channel. And this should be a pretty fun episode tonight after we are done talking about everything, because my notes are long. So welcome. Thank you for being here, everyone. I'm not going to waste too much time. It is Monday night. It's a school night. It's a work night. A lot of you guys, especially if you're living on the East Coast, probably don't want to stay up until 1:30 in the morning with me to talk about wrestling shit. So I will try to get this podcast done in a relatively timely fashion. But I want to welcome everyone to the chat and to the channel tonight. Happy Monday to you. Let me know what you thought of tonight's Monday Night Raw. I thought it was a pretty good show. Like I said, the ending with Rhea Ripley was extremely predictable, because you had that match being scheduled in the main event. You had Damian Priest on the phone with her. Hey, where you at? Okay. I mean, they were way leaning into that it was going to be Rhea Ripley. And I kind of liked how Judgment Day was a little bit clueless about it. Oh, you're going to tell us what your big announcement is, or your big secret? He's like, no, I'm going to hang on to it. Dominic will find out soon enough. He's on the phone. Where you at? Obviously, it's going to be Rhea Ripley. Plus, with that match in the main event, her coming back is exciting, because I was really hoping that her recovery would bring her back by SummerSlam. And since she came out tonight, it looks like that is the case, which means her recovery went well. I believe she even got married while she was gone. But Dom might not be getting any nuggies or tendies for a while, because he is in a world of shit. But anyway, let's get on with business here. Let me say hello to everybody here in the chat that's waiting so far. I can find the chat. There we go. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button. It's your last night to do a like here on a live stream for quite a while. So please hook me up. I would appreciate that. Let's hit some channel members first, like JJ Leg, Stone Cold 10X, Big J, Jacob A. We got Jay Lambo. We got Daniel Malcolm. We've got Mr. J and Mab dropping in $5 on my way home. Oh, you were at the show. Mommy is back. Hope you had a great Monday. Yeah, I have. It's been a wild day. I'm not as prepared as I want to be for this podcast, but I'm as prepared as I'm going to be. It's been a wild one, just trying to get ready for vacation, getting packed, getting everything settled, the house, Tito, all that nonsense. You know how it is, packing for vacations. They are wild, but we have to do wrestling stuff first. And I'm glad you were able to go to the show in Ottawa tonight. Very cool. And thank you as always, Matt, for being here and for the super chat. Daniel Malcolm, who got out of Dodge quicker tonight, Liv Morgan or Jey Uso. I loved the way Jay was just like, peace, when the Wyatts came out there during his match with Chad Gable. That was pretty funny. Good to see channel member Nick Steele in here as well. Mike Witt is in the house. Thank you for the $2. Your niece is in deep trouble, Greg. Yeah, I know. She ran off into the night. We'll see when Ripley eventually gets her hands on her. Because one thing I was curious about is that if Rhea Ripley came back, like, for example, right after Money in the Bank, would they be able to hold that off long enough until SummerSlam? Rhea's just going to want to get her belt back right away. But if Liv Morgan keeps dodging her, running away, avoiding her, maybe they can stretch this to SummerSlam. But I don't know how you're going to keep Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan separated that long. There's going to have to be... I envision something like Liv Morgan going to Adam Pearce and doing one of those things where, you know, Rhea can't touch me, or she loses her championship opportunity, something like that, you know, because otherwise Ripley's only motivation, she's going to have like a very Drew McIntyre type of mentality here, where she's going to be out for blood. She's going to be out for revenge. And she's going to get that revenge unless someone stops her. So I can see Adam Pearce being like, look, you've got a championship match against Liv at SummerSlam. You cannot assault her until then. If you do, you lose your championship opportunity. I'll bet you anything that next Monday night, they are going to enforce that rule on Rhea Ripley, but we will see. Also good to see Max Pokebra and Mike Witt. Again, 5 more from you. Thanks for the 5. Next watch-along suggestion, watch-along of No Holds Barred, the movie. I don't know, man. That's tough to do. It's hard to do a watch-along of a movie, because at least in matches and stuff, we can kind of talk, but movies are mostly dialogue, and you don't want to be talking over that. It would be hard to do a watch-along of that. I'd rather do a review. That's what I should do, is a review of No Holds Barred. Good to see 7th season, Red Raven Rucker in here as well. Jose Lopez, DJG is in the house. Sean Swaby, the new one. What's up, Vontae? Oh, Deshaun Robinson. What's going on, man? Good to see you as well. We've got Mohammed in here. We got Sex Machine, Green P, Roman Rankin, Ricky Zalvadar, Harry Rice, Sonic Plays, Decimania, Shell Shock, did I get you? Daniel Berry Sports, Der Henau, Rodrigo, Justin Fleming. Right on. Everybody that's here, welcome. Thank you very much for being here on this Monday podcast. Right on. All right, let me refresh the page. We're good. We're good. We're good. Okay, here we go. I gave you guys the rundown of what you can expect this week with the video I'm going to release, plus the 2 members only videos that'll be up with me and Elizabeth while I am gone on vacation. But tonight, we have a lot to get into in terms of WWE Raw. We're going to talk maybe a little bit about Money in the Bank and some fallout from that. We have SummerSlam coming up. AEW had a really hot Dynamite this past Wednesday. And All In, I'm really liking the way All In is shaping up. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it last year? I have a memory last year of All In creeping up and AEW still not really having a ton of matches announced. And I remember kind of being worried about that. I'm like, this is supposed to be one of your biggest shows, and you're barely building this thing up. Now, this year, things are a lot different. I think I can sniff out a good 4 matches, maybe even more, that they're definitely going to do at All In, and they've been setting a lot of that up on Dynamite just this past week. So I think so far, AEW is doing a better job of booking the actual card for All In than they did last year. I think last year's crowd is going to be bigger. I don't think they're going to top that 80,000 or whatever it was, but I think this year's card will be better. So last year had great attendance, maybe not as great of a card. This year's going to have lower attendance, but a much more, better built card, I should say. And we'll be talking a lot about what I think might be happening in AEW's world in just a little bit. But tonight we're going to start with WWE, and we're going to talk about Monday Night Raw. So they opened up with a recap of Money in the Bank and everything we saw on the show on Saturday, and CM Punk opened the show. So I had this wrong. During my post-show review of Money in the Bank, I mentioned that what's probably going to happen is Drew McIntyre is going to show up livid on Monday night and just lay down the street fight challenge for SummerSlam, and Punk is probably going to stay absent. But since Drew had that little performance after Money in the Bank and he went apeshit on the post-show, Adam Pearce suspended him, so Punk was on the show tonight instead. He opened the show, and I knew right away what was going to happen. I knew he was going to be confronted by Seth Rollins because Seth got all pissed at him after Money in the Bank, or after the main event match, and was trying to get to him because CM Punk, his involvement in that kind of screwed over Seth Rollins as well. And I've been heavily speculating for the past couple of weeks what exactly Seth Rollins does at SummerSlam. And I thought he would find his way into the World Heavyweight Championship based on what championship match between Priest and Gunther at SummerSlam. But based on what we saw tonight, it does not look like that's going to happen. So at some point, McIntyre and Punk is going to have to be made. And I guess Rollins might be the special guest referee. I don't know. But we'll get to that in a minute. Punk comes out, opens up the show, says a few very nice words about John Cena, and alludes to the fact that he'd love to lace him up with John Cena one more time. And we did talk about a potential John Cena and CM Punk match. I don't know if I think, but I hope that John Cena's retirement is the best one we've ever seen. I do. I hope his retirement exceeds Ric Flair. And we're going to talk a lot about John Cena later, but I just really, really hope he has a great one. And it's going to be nice to see all of the wrestlers over the next year give Cena his flowers, so to speak, and I thought it was cool that Punk did that for him. Punk says that he wants Drew McIntyre, he wants to get his hands on him, and he wants Adam Pearce to lift the suspension. So he basically says, I want to get my hands on Drew McIntyre, but I can't do that if he's suspended. So he pleads with Adam Pearce to lift that suspension so he can do his thing or whatever. And that's when he's interrupted by Seth Rollins. So we knew this was coming. Seth Rollins comes out, Punk leaves the ring, and he goes and sits on the announce table while Seth gets in the ring. And Seth says a few words about Punk and a few disparaging things because he's pretty upset. And Punk gets off the announce table and he said, hey, last time we were in the ring together, I gave you a pass. I told you that's the last time you're ever going to be talking disrespectfully to me. And gets in the ring, gets in Seth's face. And he goes, dude, you have to understand, McIntyre held up a bracelet with my wife and my dog's name on it. It might not mean anything to you, but it means a lot to me. That thing might retail for 11 cents, but it's the value that it has to me. That's why I took it personally, and that's why I have to do what I have to do against Drew McIntyre. And then he admits, he goes, look, I apologize. If my desire to get Drew McIntyre inadvertently cost you your World Heavyweight Championship match, then I'm sorry for that. But because it's you, I can't really be that sorry. So he was taking both guys were taking like subtle digs at each other to where, there's still a lot of bad blood there. But Punk did at least acknowledge that what he did likely did cause a problem for Rollins. Plus, Rollins also has that stipulation that was in that match as well that I was hoping would be null and void after Punk did what he did. And Rollins says, I could just attack you right here, but you're not 100%. But rest assured, once you are cleared, I will snap your arm because actions have consequences. And that was the big theme in CM Punk's promo on Drew McIntyre. Actions have consequences. Your actions have consequences, and I am those consequences. And he kind of called Drew out for the same thing that I called Drew McIntyre out for showing his hand. McIntyre got on the mic a couple of weeks ago and says, I'm going to win Money in the Bank, and when I do, I'm going to cash it in. Well, you just told CM Punk to go to Toronto. If you would have kept your fucking mouth shut, maybe he wouldn't have been there and your cash-in would have been successful. But instead, Punk calls him, said he has $1 million body and a 10-cent brain. And he kind of does, because I thought that was very dumb of McIntyre, knowing who he is dealing with, knowing the type of person that Punk is. Showing your hand like that is kind of idiotic, and it cost him again. So I kind of like the way that Seth twisted Punk's words back on him with the whole actions have consequences thing. And that was kind of the end of the segment there. So it left you wondering what is going to happen between these two guys in the future. I think a Seth Rollins and CM Punk program is absolutely something we need to see, and we probably will. But first and foremost, Punk is in the middle of this feud right now with Drew McIntyre. It also felt a little bit like we are inching closer to what will probably be a double turn, right? I mean, I feel like they're set up here where they could make it work, and McIntyre and Rollins maybe even forming, mutual respect, to combat CM Punk. And if Punk keeps getting more heelish, I think that will be a lot of fun. Punk is a great heel. I kind of want him to be a heel in this. And I hope we do see some sort of a double turn at SummerSlam. I think that would be great. Now, you also have to remember that WWE just announced Bad Blood. All of a sudden, they're spelling the word bad right. I don't know who taught them. There's only one D, but somebody did. That's coming up on October 5th, which is the anniversary of the first ever Bad Blood Hell in the Cell match in history. So if they stick another Hell in the Cell on that card, which I think they are going to, I think CM Punk and Drew McIntyre would be a perfect match to do. So maybe at SummerSlam, Punk gets the win in some sort of a double turn. Punk turns heel and gets the win over McIntyre. Now, they got a couple of shows before they get to Bad Blood, so maybe McIntyre gets the win, and then Punk gets another win back. And then at Hell in the Cell, at Bad Blood, you do the blow-off. That's the third match in October. Not sure how all that's going to work right now. It's either going to be the third match or the second match. But if you did Punk and Drew in the Cell, you've got a feud here that would be worthy of a Hell in the Cell match instead of just trying to throw two guys in there. Plus, I think it would be cool if you gave the winner a title shot at Survivor Series, just like you did in 1997, because a lot of people forget that match with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels where Kane debuted. The stipulation was the winner gets a title shot at Survivor Series. That's why the screw job happened. It's Kane's fault that the screw job happened. If it weren't for Kane, Undertaker would have won, and then he would have faced Bret Hart, and there would have been no screw job. So if you're looking for somebody to blame for the screw job, it's Kane. Kane. Go find Glenn Jacobs on social media. I'm sure he's being an ass bag right now. He's easy to find. And go yell at him for being the reason that Bret Hart isn't in the WWE. So I think if they added that stipulation, it might be fun, a fun little callback, and it might secure CM Punk or McIntyre a title shot at Survivor Series, and maybe that's where McIntyre finally wins it, or maybe he wins the Hell in the Cell, gets the title shot, and Punk screws him again. Who knows? But I feel like this feud, Punk and Drew, first match obviously at SummerSlam, but they definitely got to have a Hell in the Cell at Bad Blood, Punk and Drew. I don't know what other feud or issue or storyline right now would be worthy of a Hell in the Cell match more than these two guys. It's kind of my favorite ongoing feud in WWE right now, to be honest, is Punk and Drew McIntyre. And another big question is, what now does Seth Rollins do at SummerSlam? That's been my big thing the whole time, and one of my ideas was for Rollins to be inserted into the World Heavyweight title match, but Rollins had a conversation with Priest tonight on Raw that made it clear that that's probably not going to be the case. There was some mutual respect. Priest even says, hey, don't worry about the stipulation. Once I'm done with Gunther, you can have another shot anytime you want. So the stipulation's really not going to matter, but if Rollins isn't going to be added to the World Heavyweight title match, and he's not going to be facing the Wyatts or something, he's going to have to be involved in this match. So one would assume that the special guest referee rumor is probably accurate, because I don't know what else Seth Rollins does at this point. I mean, it gives him a big pay-per-view off from being in the ring. I think if he is a special guest referee, he's going to take some bumps and see some action. But in terms of being in a grueling match, he gets to take this one off, I guess. And Rollins will likely be in a special guest referee capacity. Otherwise, if he's not, what does he do? We have McIntyre on the show next week. Punk will be off, so Rollins might come out and confront McIntyre, or maybe align with him or something, or he might even be pissed at Drew too, because he was pissed at Punk for screwing up his opportunity, but Drew screwed up that opportunity as well. Drew showed up there with that briefcase. He's just as much to blame as CM Punk. So maybe the story is here, Rollins blames both of them. And somebody who brought up the idea of Rollins being the special guest referee the other night, I kind of passed on it, because I thought there was enough bad blood, no pun intended, between Punk and Drew that you don't need any extra parts. But Seth has got to do something. And if Rollins is pissed that not only McIntyre, but Punk as well, both fucked up his world title shot, then he could be the special guest referee, because he really does kind of dislike both guys. But then again, I feel like he's got a little bit more respect for McIntyre. Remember at WrestleMania, after McIntyre beat him for the title, there was that moment. Rollins was in the aisleway looking at Drew, kind of nodding at him like, you got me? You got me? Like, there's a respect there. So I don't know if the hatred or animosity is as strong with Drew with Rollins as it is with Punk. But at this point, what Rollins, the only thing he can do, I think, at this point, would be a special guest referee. But I also think that Drew and Punk, given the violent nature of their issue, shouldn't be in a straight up match that would need a referee getting down, up and down, making 3 counts and doing rope breaks and shit. At the very least, this has to be a street fight. At the very least, this needs to be no disqualification. At the very least, just some crazy street fight, and then you blow off in Hell in the Cell at Bad Blood. But if Rollins is the referee, if it's a street fight, what's he even going to be out there to do? So I don't know how this is going to work. Rollins being the referee, sure, but one thing I don't want to see is just a straight up one-on-one match with regular rules for Punk and Drew. Wouldn't you think that's a match you need to have some sort of stipulation in a match that's been this violent and already been pretty bloody and is pretty personal? You know, you can't just break after the count of 3 in a feud like that. So I feel like it's got to have some sort of a stip. Some sort of a stip. We will see what they do. So that opened the show there. I thought we were going to get the full-blown SummerSlam challenge for Punk and Drew. We're not quite there yet, but I think we're just a week or two away from that happening. Then we cut backstage. Adam Pearce is with Dominic, right? And Dominic is like, dude, I don't want this championship match. Or I'm not championship match, this tag match in the main event. And Pearce is like, Liv wanted the match. She thought you would like it. Gives you a chance to beat your dad or whatever. And he doesn't really want much to do with it. And that's when Pearce walks away. Liv Morgan shows up and she says to Dominic, come on, it's going to be okay. Why don't we go and work on our match together, work on strategy? And she's trying to convince Dominic to go with her into a room and work out the match. And Dominic is like, fine, but there better be some tendies or some nuggies in there or something. So Dominic has got to always have his dry tendies and nuggies, whole platter of them, but he reluctantly agrees to go with Liv, and they would do a callback to a 24-year-old segment with Triple H and Trish Stratus, which I thought was really funny later on. Then we have Jey Uso taking on Chad Gable one-on-one. 2 losers from the Money in the Bank. They were my 2 picks along with McIntyre. I figured it would be one of the 3 of them. And this match doesn't get a chance to have a winner because in the middle of it, the Wyatt 6 lights go down. It does have a winner. During the match, the lights go down, and that's enough to kind of distract Gable a little bit. Jey Uso runs in with a spear, pins Gable quickly, and then stands up, and then he's just like, yeet, or whatever he says, and he just scurries out of the ring and leaves, leaving Chad Gable in there all alone. Nikki Cross, Sister Abigail, whoever, shows up from the smoke and delivers yet another package to the announce team, and then they just fade to black. So Gable wasn't attacked or anything like that, but the Wyatt 6 did come out during Gable's match again. I do think it would be kind of funny if Gable gets all paranoid. You know, he's looking over his shoulder every 5 seconds. He's scared shitless of the Wyatt 6. And then we come to find out that the only reason that they were showing up during Gable's matches was just a coincidence. Like they're not even really paying attention to him. They have no desire or no goals to assault him or target him in any way. They just happen to come out there and he's losing sleep for no reason. That might be kind of funny. But after they gave the announce team the tape, they faded to black, and then we just cut backstage to Sheamus and Jackie Redmond. Now, Sheamus gets congratulated by Jackie for being in the WWE for 15 years now, decade and a half. He's then interrupted by Bronson Reed. They have a couple of words, and Reed is out next for his match against Peter Dunne. So it's Reed and Dunne up next. Big tsunami for the win. Fun little match there between Peter and Bronson. After the tsunami victory, that is a finish, I believe, that is pretty protected. I'm not sure if anybody's kicked out of that tsunami yet. He goes for a second tsunami on Pete Dunne, and that's when Sheamus runs in to make the save on his former Brawling Brute stablemate. I had almost forgotten that the two were even in a stable together. And he comes out, he saves Pete Dunne. He tries to give Pete Dunne a little hug, and Dunne wants nothing to do with it, pushes him away, and leaves. And I like that. I like that they're making a little story here in an undercard kind of, in an undercard angle or an undercard program or match here. They used to do this in the Attitude Era. Even the Truth Commission had stories going on. So I like that Sheamus and Pete Dunne kind of have a little thing to work through right now. Sheamus posted on social media, well, that was awkward or that was weird or whatever. So I think he's going to have to do some convincing there. I don't recall how the Brawling Brutes split up, but I believe it was Sheamus kind of walking out on them. So Peter Dunne has not forgotten. Back then, he didn't even have the same name. So if you got a different name, you should have different feelings. So hopefully those two will work out their issues. Then we cut backstage to that conversation I referenced earlier on with Seth Rollins and Damian Priest. Rollins said that he appreciated Damian Priest keeping his word during the match about not having any Judgment Day interference, so he will keep his word, and he will not come for the title as long as Priest is holding the belt. And Priest says, look, I appreciate it, but I still have a lot to prove as well, so don't worry about the stipulation. Scrap the stip. Let me finish off Gunther. Let me finish with Gunther. Once I'm done with Gunther, you can have another shot anytime you want. Now, this is going to wind up not mattering because Gunther's going to win the championship, but Priest is getting ever so close to, being full-blown babyface here pretty soon, and he does have the respect of, other top babyfaces in the company as a champion based on his performance. So I'm glad that he didn't drop the belt. I'm glad that he's going to be the one to take it into SummerSlam, because I don't want to look at Priest's title run as a failure in any way. Even though it's going to be short, I hope it's, somewhat memorable and we take this man seriously as a main eventer moving forward. That's all I want out of this title run. So in order to get that, I think the very earliest he needed to drop it was SummerSlam. And since his opponent is Gunther, it's going to be SummerSlam. And that's really all I asked for. Just like Swerve. Not everybody can have a year-long run these days. So when Swerve won the title, I'm like, as long as he holds it to All In, I won't complain. But if they have him drop it before then, I'm going to be like, what the fuck? And he might hold it beyond All In. We'll talk about All In later, whether Swerve faces Danielson at All In and maybe Hangman at All Out, or he faces Hangman at All In. We don't even know yet. We'll talk about it in a few. So up next on Raw, we had a Sami Zayn promo. Sami Zayn came out to the ring wearing his flannel. He's got his Intercontinental Championship. He, of course, was successful in his match with Braun Breaker at Money in the Bank, in a match where he won clean, and a lot of fans had a problem with it. Oh, I can't believe they would build up Breaker like that just to have him beat and pinned, and he's buried. The typical, just all it is. Nothing has any substance. They just say it. Nothing means anything. They just say it. So they're mad, whatever. But we were saying in the post-show, we're like, Braun Breaker is probably still going to win the Intercontinental title, even with this clean loss. I predicted Sami to win, but I thought it might have to take some sort of a fluke, or Braun Breaker tries to spear Sami, he ducks and he cuts the ring post in half, and Breaker's dead and he pins him that way or something. Some crazy dumb luck that would help Sami escape Breaker, But then again, Sami is a guy, and he said it in his promo tonight, he's no longer an underdog. He is a champion. This guy beat the dominant Gunther at WrestleMania. He's had a good year plus now, over a year, where he's been a credible competitor and champion. He should not be the underdog. It should not be weird that he beats somebody. And I think with Braun Breaker, I guess the story they're kind of trying to tell you here is that he is so big and dominant and menacing. It was more of just an experience thing. He was hot dogging a little bit, doing the push-ups during the Intercontinental title match and whatnot. So I think that he's going to find his way back to it. And as we would see, he showed up. After Sami Zayn declared himself no longer an underdog and he's a champion, Braun Breaker came out. So the very fact that he came out to the ring tells me that they're going to have another match, and all these fans freaking out that he lost or they buried Breaker. Why'd they build him up for him to lose? It's just a match. It's just a match. He's not Goldberg. He's a very intense, crazy, run you over type of guy. I will even admit I was slightly shocked that Sami just straight up beat him, but I certainly didn't believe it was the wrong decision. Oh, they fucked up Braun Breaker. The dude is 21 years old or whatever he is. Braun Breaker's got like a 30-year career ahead of him, and you guys are already having him buried? Come on, what is with the fans? So I did not understand. I had no problem whatsoever with Sami Zayn beating Braun Breaker, because it's probably going to result in Breaker winning the Intercontinental title anyway, and maybe even learning from some of the mistakes he made in that match and not to do that again. And even in the watch-along and post-show on Money in the Bank, I threw out the suggestion that the next time these guys face each other, which will probably be at SummerSlam, Braun Breaker has a victory over Sami, similar to how Brock Lesnar had one over John Cena back in 2014. It's a 10-year anniversary of that show. Do it again here on the Intercontinental title level with Sami. They've established Sami as somebody who can beat Gunther and Braun Breaker clean. He's a strong champion. Braun Breaker is pissed that he kind of beat himself maybe in that Money in the Bank match. He's going to learn from those mistakes and make sure that he does not make those again. And this time he's going to make good on it. And this time he's going to be dominant. This time when he has a chance to do push-ups, he's just going to deliver more punishment to Sami Zayn. And maybe it's just a brutal ass kicking, to where you're like, holy shit, when this guy wants to, he can beat anybody. He just has to want to, something like that. I'd be perfectly fine with that. And if Braun Breaker winds up winning the title at SummerSlam, I don't know how this Money in the Bank loss harmed him in any way. He's going to have to lose some matches. Not everybody can be booked like Goldberg. He's crazy intense and he's 100 fucking miles an hour. And I understand if he's running at you at 27 miles an hour, just lifting up your foot and a boot in the face should not be enough to stop him. He should have sent Sami into the fourth row. I get all of that. Everybody's right. But just this idea, these programmed opinions that when somebody loses, it's a burial. Stop. It's not. It's not a burial. I was a little shocked about how the match went, but I certainly didn't think it was wrong. And I think that's sometimes the fans' problem. When something happens that they're not expecting, they have to twist it into WWE's the one that fucked up, And I'm like, no, sometimes just a different guy won. It's not like a big fucking deal at all. So I didn't consider it a problem at Money in the Bank. And I liked what they did here with Breaker coming out and just staring at Sami Zayn. You can tell he's just mad. He's mad more at himself than he is with Sami Zayn. And Sami's like, did you come out here to even say anything? Or are you just going to stand there? And Braun starts to admit what happened to him. And first he's kind of just casual, chill. I loved this. He's just kind of casual and chill on the mic. To be honest, I don't really deserve another shot at the title because you beat me. And as he's trying to admit that maybe he doesn't deserve another shot, like a switch just turns and he just throws down the mic and he just bum rushes Sami, spears him viciously and just starts beating the hell out of Sami Zayn. Ilya Dragunov comes out to try to get to Breaker, but he's held back. The two of them are going to have a match later on, and Breaker annihilates Sami Zayn. Referees would do a whole pull apart thing. Breaker is being ushered away down the aisleway by Pierce and the security guards. He goes, hey, look, it's Elvis. And as they all look over there, he runs around the ring again and spears Sami or takes out Sami Zayn. Pretty funny stuff. So all this told me was that Braun Breaker, as we expected and as we talked about in the Money in the Bank review, will probably get another crack at the title and we'll probably win it, which means no harm done and y'all lost sleep for nothing. So I think that if Breaker wins, then you can give him a dominant run there. But maybe this is one of those, learning experience losses that he needed to suffer. I don't know. I just don't think it was like the worst thing in the world that he lost at Money in the Bank. I just don't get the outrage, I guess. But all of that they did tonight in that promo tells me that they are going to set up a rematch, because the way Breaker was like, look, you beat me. I don't deserve a rematch. But if he attacks Sami and annihilates him, it's probably like reverse psychology. Breaker probably knows, okay, in WWE system, I might have to go to the back of the line in order to get another title shot. I can't lose clean to the champion and then demand another match at SummerSlam. Why would Pierce give me that match? Why would he do that? Maybe I have to beat up Sami. I got to attack him and annihilate him, and then Sami will challenge me. And I think that's what's going to wind up happening, is that Sami is going to have an issue with this beatdown, obviously, and he'll be the one to say, hey, you want another shot at this so bad? You got it, pal, anytime. Pierce, make the match. SummerSlam, me and Braun Breaker. And it'll probably come together some way like that. Or they do a multi-man deal. They got Dragunov involved in this thing now. You could still find a way to get Gable in the mix, maybe even Jey Uso if you wanted. And it would be a way to get more people on the SummerSlam card. So I do think a multi-man deal is possible for the Intercontinental Championship. But I would also be fine with Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker one-on-one. But if it was like a fatal four-way, you could put Breaker in there and give him a dominant performance. What if it's like Sami and Dragunov and somebody else and Braun Breaker, or it's a triple threat, but four-way would be better, and Breaker just kills everybody, and just dominantly wins? That would also kind of be fun. So we will see where it all goes, but I feel like the end game here is Breaker winning the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam, right? That's what it feels like to me. Here's a fun match. Awesome Truth and Braun Strowman taking on Finn Balor, JD, Big Head McDonough, and Carlito. Match was okay. Strowman went running off somewhere into the crowd, chasing after somebody, I forgot who, and Balor was able to hit the coup de Gracie onto R-Truth for the win. Then we're backstage with Adam Pearce and CM Punk. And Pierce tells Punk to go home and get cleared. He goes, you can't be running around here doing all this shit. If you don't cool it, I'm going to have to take action, basically. And Punk agrees. He goes, okay, I'll go home. Pierce is like, I can't do anything. I can't give you the Drew McIntyre match. I can't give you Drew until you are cleared. So please go home, get cleared, let me know when you are, and then we'll work things out. And Punk said, okay. And he says he won't be on the show next week. And then shortly after that, they announced that Drew McIntyre will be on the show next week. So I think it would be fun if Punk showed up. Like, McIntyre's out there in the ring saying his piece. Punk attacks. Pierce was like, damn it, Punk, I told you to stay home unless you were cleared. And then Punk can be like, guess what, bitch, I am cleared. And then boom, there you go. There's the match. Or Punk is off next week, and then 2 weeks from tonight is when the match is officially made. And that would be nice because I'll be back from vacation and we'll be here to talk about it. So we'll see if it's either next week or the week after. But I think 2 weeks from tonight at the latest is when Punk and Drew needs to be made for SummerSlam. At the very latest. Next segment of the night. Oh, so good. So good. That's why I love this Liv Morgan and Dominic storyline. It's funny. It's got comedic elements to it. I've seen a lot of people saying that it's like offensive or whatever. Come on. Let's not be snowflakes here. I'm a tree-hugging, do-gooding, hippie libtard, but let's not be ridiculous. I think people are like, oh, this storyline is just making me... It's making me think of the Vince McMahon lawsuit. Why? Why is it making you think of that? I think it's performative outrage. I think people who are find this storyline in bad taste don't have any fun in life. I'm currently on season 4 of Shameless. This shit is Dr. fucking Seuss compared to that. There is a comedic element to this. Liv Morgan, just this, sexually charged, troublemaking schemer, is kind of funny. And then when you add the Judgment Day trying to, help Dom weather this very interesting situation that he's in, it's made for some funny moments on TV. Why are we so fucking sensitive? There is way worse shit and way more scandalous stuff going on right now as we speak on daytime TV, and your mom loves it. So let's not pretend that a wrestling angle is like offensive. Wrestling is less likely to offend us in 2024 than ever before in history. Can wrestling still offend us from time to time? Sure, but it's less likely to than it has ever been. And this storyline has not been in bad taste. I don't think that WWE is being tone deaf or any other fucking term that people like just to parrot and repeat that doesn't apply to this situation at all. I think it's a great storyline and it's fun. And it's nice to see this type of stuff again. A lot of fans want more edgy or Attitude Era type of content. Now they get it, they're going to bitch. This is even done, in a way that's not making anybody, not degrading anybody, at all. It's funny. So I don't know what the big deal is, but I've seen a lot of people complaining, oh, this is a really bad taste. No, it's not. You're just a snowflake. And this is coming from a liberal. This is why people don't like liberals, is because you get too offended over stupid shit. I'm not offended. I think it's great. I've enjoyed it. And it's been a lot of fun. And it's been, so far, since Liv Morgan has been in the company, been the most interesting thing she's ever done. And she's great at this role because she is a little troublemaker. Little short-ass little troublemaker, giggling and scheming. Scandalous little bitch. I love that. Love it. Liv Morgan is the greatest. I support her. I support Dominic. And I support this whole storyline. So they cut backstage, and this is so awesome. Liv Morgan and Dominic are on the couch, and Liv Morgan's going to stretch Dominic. I think Dominic would like to stretch. Never mind. So Liv Morgan is stretching Dominic. He's on the couch, and she's got his leg, and she pushes his leg all the way up, and he's like, oh yeah, that feels good. And then Judgment Day, all of Judgment Day, walks in the door. Priest is in first, and he's just like, ugh. And he just shakes his head. And then the way the Judgment Day members did the heads in the door like a cartoon, I think it's like JD down below and then Balor, and I don't know if Carlito was doing it too, but the way their two heads kind of peeked around the corner and one head was higher than the other, I popped so hard. And it was a direct callback to Triple H and Trish Stratus back in 2000. I was going to a lot of those shows back then. I was at SummerSlam 2000 that year when they were kind of doing that thing with Angle and Stephanie. And then they also had Trish and Triple H. And Trish and Triple H were in the dressing room, similar to Dom and Liv here. And Triple H is showing her how to like put on an arm bar or a hammer lock or something, and he bends Trish all the way over, and then Stephanie walks right in and sees her husband with Trish bent over. So great. This was definitely Triple H's idea here. I loved this. Funniest segment of the night. It had me dying. Then we cut back to the arena, and the announcers are now going to acknowledge the present that Nikki Cross or Sister Abigail or whoever dropped off during the Gable and Uso match. And it's another VHS tape. They open the package. It's another VHS tape, and they're going to send it to the truck for viewing, I guess, in a little while. We cut backstage again. Chad Gable locates Adam Pearce, and he tells him to do something about the Wyatts. And Pearce is like, well, what do you want me to do, man? I've added security. I've done all this shit. I don't know what else I can do. And basically kind of blows off Gable. Gable leaves Pearce. They're right by his office. Pearce goes into his office. When he opens the door, you see Bo Dallas sitting there. You see him sitting there. And by the way, they did that VHS tape. They did play that. And it was more of the same from last week of Bo Dallas kind of talking to Uncle Howdy. But this time they revealed what we already knew. They basically revealed that Bo Dallas is Uncle Howdy as they were kind of meshing them together type of thing. So that's when Gable finds Pearce, tells him to do something, and Pearce winds up finding Bo Dallas sitting in his office, and he closes the door behind him. That takes balls. So Dallas was in Pearce's dressing room, or office, I should say, waiting for him. And I guess it's going to be Bo Dallas versus Chad Gable or Uncle Howdy versus Chad Gable at SummerSlam. And since we saw Bo Dallas in Bo Dallas form, do you think that he's going to be I don't know what his name is going to be other than Uncle Howdy. Are they calling him by his real name? So I don't know if he's going to have like two personalities. He's going to wrestle as Bo Dallas, and then he's also going to wrestle as Uncle Howdy, kind of like how Bray Wyatt was Funhouse Bray and he was The Fiend. Is it going to be something like that? It feels like it is, since he was in there not in costume or whatnot. So I'm curious how I'm just curious how all of this is going to work. You know, because it's starting slow here. It's done. It's well done. It's well produced and everything. But so far, it's just been 2 VHS tapes and a couple of, weird Uncle Howdy interviews. And now finally we see Bo Dallas in person, in the flesh, in the locker room of Adam Pearce, maybe to request a match for SummerSlam. We will have to see what's going on there. Then it's time for Braun Breaker versus Ilya Dragunov. One-on-one. Now, Dragunov is pretty pissed about what happened earlier on. Breaker picks up one of the announcer's chairs, like the chair that I'm sitting in, and throws it right at Dragunov, gets himself DQ'd. Sami hobbles out there injured, takes out Braun Breaker, but then Braun Breaker takes out both guys, throwing them both over the announce table and wiping them both out. So Breaker was dominant and pissed off here on Monday Night Raw. After that, we had a tag team match, 6-woman tag with Damage Control taking on Lyra Valkyria and Kaden and the other one. Damage Control got the win here over the moonsault for the win. I paid zero attention to the match. I'm not a fan of Kaden and the other one, or their presentation, or their little smoke guns in their entrances. Just no. I'm glad that Damage Control got the win here. And then after the match, we had an attack by Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, and a returning Sonya Deville, who we've seen on TV a couple of weeks recently, as she's been trying to recruit the two of these ladies, and it looks like they have now aligned themselves together and have formed a little bit of a mini faction, maybe like Dan Severn, Ken Shamrock, and Steve Blackman formed the Shooters, right? Maybe this can be the women's version of that. So I'm very happy to see them together. Hopefully that will be fun. These 3 ass-kicking women kicking other women's asses. I will like that. Now, backstage after commercial, we cut to the back, and we got an interview with all 3, and Sonya Deville is, announcing that they're here. I'm not even sure what she was saying, because in the background, behind them, you see one of those in the background conversations that WWE pretty much does every week. We probably will grow tired of this, but it's still kind of fresh and new, so I love it. I love when you're trying to watch an interview, but something subtly is going on in the back, and this wasn't so subtle. This was Chad Gable talking to the Creeds and Ivy Nile. Now, we saw the 3 of them approach him either last week or the week before, when he had the fallout with Otis and those guys. So you know that alliance is probably still coming, and Chad Gable is probably out recruiting some backup because he's got the Wyatt 6 after him. So maybe they need a faction to feud against. So Gable can still help out, or I'm sorry, align with the Creeds. Maybe they will run to his defense 1 week on Raw. Not sure when they're going to tie up the Otis stuff in Alpha Academy either. If Otis and Maxine and Tozawa show back up and something happens with that. Plus you have the Creeds and Ivy Nile. Plus you have the Wyatt 6. Chad Gable has a lot going on around him. And I'm not even sure where it's all going to lead to. It's either going to lead to Gable facing, probably what's going to happen is maybe Gable has to face Bo Dallas or Uncle Howdy or something, and he loses, and then the Wyatt 6 show up and they abduct him or anally probe him or something like that. And then after that, he's a changed man. He's like, I got to find some backup. And he gets the Creeds on his side, and that starts the faction war. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen with with Chad Gable. And that leaves us with the main event. And we knew what we were going to see here. It was Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega taking on Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. I was just waiting for Rhea Ripley. I wasn't sure if we were going to get a finish in this match or not, or if Ripley was just going to come out in the middle of it. But we did get a finish. I was eyeballing the time, and 2 minutes to the top of the hour, I'm like, okay, this match is still going on. We have to have a finish and have Ripley come out. And Rey Mysterio has got Dom down. Referee gets distracted. Ray's got Dominic up on the ropes for like a superplex. That's what it is. Referee gets distracted. Liv Morgan hops up on I think she grabs a chair. That's what it is. She grabs a chair, slides the chair in the ring. That distracts the ref. Then she hops up on the apron, low blows Rey Mysterio, or knocks him off, I should say. Knocks him off the top rope. He crotches himself, falls to the ground, allowing Dominic to come off the top with the frog splash and pin his father. Dominic pinning and beating Rey Mysterio, I think for the first time ever, they said, and got the win for his team. And you knew this was coming. Once he won, Liv Morgan jumped on top of him, straddled him again. He immediately kind of shoved her off, but then she got back on him and he started to succumb, and they're about this close to kissing, and boom, this is my brutality, or whatever her song is these days. Out comes Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan shits herself. Dominic knows he's in a world of trouble. Liv Morgan scurries away. Rhea's chasing her. Rhea looked great, by the way, for anyone who's wondering. Liv hops the barricade, runs through the audience to get away. And as soon as Rhea Ripley realizes that she can't get to Liv, she turns her attention to Dom. She goes in the ring, and as soon as she's in there, he is cowering, just like he won't even look at her. He knows, and there's this big stare down between the two to close the show. It was great stuff, great ending, exactly how I envisioned Ripley coming back. I figured it would probably be something pretty quick at first, and then they will book the SummerSlam match, and that's where the annihilation of Liv Morgan will probably happen. And I'm curious to see now how the relationship with Dominic and Rhea Ripley holds up. I don't know. I'm guessing that maybe Ripley is back in the Judgment Day now. Next week, we will see lots of backstage segments with the Judgment Day in their little clubhouse, and Rhea being back and Dominic, still trying to repair things, but maybe not being able to forget about Liv. Maybe she's on his mind. And Ripley is so pissed at Dominic and giving him so much shit, he starts thinking, Liv's actually always really nice to me, even though she's using him, but she's certainly not as abusive as you are being to me, mommy. And the madder and more angry that Ripley gets at Dominic, the more he might start missing Liv, and then the two have some sort of secret rendezvous or something like that. I don't know how all this is going to go down. It's very daytime soap, and it's great, and it's fun. And welcome back, Rhea Ripley. I was heartbroken when she had to relinquish the title. Hopefully she's healthy enough to come back and resume her run, unless they do an ultimate swerve here and she has a match with Liv Morgan at SummerSlam and Dom turns. I know we've all joked about the custody of Dominic ladder match. They could do that again, but I don't know if you're going to put Dominic, the winner gets Dominic or something like that. They could do something like that. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, winner gets the belt and Dominic. You could hang Dominic from an apparatus and they could have a ladder match for him. You could just hang Dominic on a pole match. That would be fun. But I feel like Dominic's going to turn on Mommy. It just depends on how they do the segments on TV starting next week. Rhea Ripley will probably be pretty hard on Dominic, right? And then he's going to start maybe wishing he was still hanging around Liv Morgan. Oh, maybe she's not so bad now that I see how Mommy's treating me. And then you do the match, Liv Morgan defending her title against Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam, and Dominic costs Mommy the match. That's what I would do. I would actually not have Rhea Ripley win the title back. I would have Liv Morgan beat her with help from Dominic, with him turning. And then Ripley gets the belt back after that, the next match they have. But for SummerSlam, that would be great. That's where Dominic turns. That's what I would do in that scenario there. But we will have to see. Overall, really fun episode tonight of Monday Night Raw. And I'm excited as all hell for SummerSlam. Now, we have lots of stuff to still get into here, but before we do, let's go back to the chat here, and I got to knock out a bunch of super chats. Juliet, RIP Cartoon Network. Did Cartoon Network die? Was it sick? That's sad. Condolences and thoughts and prayers out to the family of Cartoon Network as you deal with this loss. Oh, yeah, Vontae, the new one. Appreciate the $5. I forgot about that line. I don't know. Looks hard to me. Perfect comedic timing. It was really great. Even the audience heard that because they chuckled. And that was back when Liv was stretching Dominic. And somebody says, I forgot what they said. It's not that hard. And then I don't know if it was JD. I don't know. It looks that hard to me. Whatever the line was, it was hilarious. And the crowd popped. And it was great. Thank you for reminding me about that. Vontae, Stone Cold, appreciate the 5 from you, my friend. Wife and I made it through Barrel to be here. All those still without power or damage, best of luck to you. Stone Cold, I don't know what you're talking about. What is Barrel? Oh, it's a hurricane. Oh, I'm not even aware there's a hurricane in Tejas. Man, I got to start watching the sea. In San Diego, our weather's the same every day. When I lived on the East Coast, I was always mindful of the weather, always watching it, looking out for rain, temperature, shit like that. Was completely unaware that a hurricane was bearing down on your neck of the woods, Stone Cold. Be safe. Be safe. I'm glad that you made it through. And I've been through a lot of hurricanes in my life. I used to live right on the coast of North Carolina, and I got ass fucked by so many hurricanes. I lost power. I got flooded. Everything imaginable. I've dealt with it. I've been there. They're gnarly. They're scary. And I'm glad that you made it through, Stone Cold. Thoughts out and best wishes out to everybody dealing with that natural disaster. Mike Witt, thank you for the 5. They wanted, the way they turned Max heel tells me Adam Cole is still a long ways away. Unfortunately, Max vs. Will is going to be fun in England. Wardlow reunion, maybe. That could be good. I'd be all for that. I was under the impression that the Adam Cole and MJF stuff is done. Their injuries derailed that program and that story. There's really no way to pay it off now. You got to cut your losses. And I feel like they did at when they both came out. They both showed up, right? Whatever pay-per-view that was. When they came out, and that kind of, to me, it signified the end of that. And I have always been of the belief that we're not going to get that payoff of Cole and MJF. Maybe one day they'll pick things back up, but MJF's going to have a completely different, set of goals and motivations now, and they have moved on from that. They had no choice. They had no choice to move on. But we're going to talk about those guys here in just a minute. Jacob A, yeah, do you only turn ads off for watch-alongs, right? Yeah, the ads are probably going to be on this video, sorry. But I do try to turn them off for watch-alongs because I feel like that's helpful. But I got a YouTube channel, got to have the ads on. Get premium. Just get premium. Just get premium. It's the way to go, man. Premium's the best. I haven't seen a YouTube ad in like 6 years. Max Pokey, bro, appreciate the 5 from you. Punk spits on Seth. Yeah, there you go. Seth swings a chair but hits Drew instead. Punk gets the pin like Brett at SummerSlam. It's funny you brought that up because I've just laid down a bunch of thoughts on that match. Thursday, stay tuned. But yeah, you could do that kind of a callback to 97. And I mentioned the callback to Hell in the Cell 97. You can have a lot of 1997 here. If you really want to, and a little bit of 2005 with the custody of Dominic. I like it. I think some sort of a finish like that, Max, is going to happen in Punk and Drew. And that is one good way. Making Seth the referee is one way that you can kind of protect both guys. Because if you got Seth as the referee and you got all sorts of crazy shit happening, you don't have to worry about one guy beating the other so much, to where if it was a straight up match with no interference, like, okay, who the fuck goes over? Obviously McIntyre will go over, but you don't want to, you know, bury Punk either, or, you know, whatever. They got to have all those things in mind. So having Seth in there is a way to give one guy the victory while still keeping the opponent protected and giving you a reason to do a second match, maybe a third. So Seth being the referee and being a huge factor in the finish, to me, is probably pretty likely at this point, because Seth's whole deal is that those guys screwed up his opportunity. Drew messed it up with the cash-in. Punk messed it up stopping the cash-in. So then Seth, eye for an eye, right? I'm going to screw up something for one of y'all, if not both of you. Or maybe Punk hits them both with chairs or whatever. I'm not sure. But it's going to be weird seeing Punk as the special guest referee or as a referee. But at this point, I don't see what else he does. You could throw him in there and make it a triple threat. But I think that the issue between Drew and Punk is too personal to make that a triple threat. My boy, Zach. You know, Zach was just in town. We had lunch last week, me and Zach, over at BJ's. We went and got BJ's together. Y'all can just chew on that. Good to see you, Zach. Is Braun Breaker a better heel or a babyface? I always felt like anybody who belongs to the Steiner family was born to be a bad guy. The Steiners I guess you're thinking Scott Steiner, but Steiners are babyfaces their whole career. I feel like 90% of their career are babyfaces till the very end there when Scott turned heel in 98. But the voice, you know, he's got that Scott Steiner voice. And I think Breaker's got one of those voices where he's good either way. I'm not sure better heel or babyface. I don't know. With those Goldberg type of characters, they can work as both. You know, they really can. And Breaker he's bubbling with charisma. He's not Ryback, you know, like, and he's not even Goldberg, because he's able to speak and speak well, and he's got a great voice, and he has charisma, and he's somebody that you probably do want to give a microphone to pretty often. So I feel like Breaker is actually in a great spot, except for that stupid ass name of his. He's actually in a great spot of having the ability, at least from my perspective as a fan, of somebody that I think could do both jobs equally well. We're going to have to wait and see what kind of run he has as both to see which one we prefer more. But I feel like his potential has success on either one. Because if he's a babyface, he's got that type of voice that I think could get the fans behind him. He starts, starts cracking some jokes, or he goes up against some hated heel and he's angry and he's mad. He wants to rip their head off. Fans can definitely get behind that. But he's also very menacing, and he's a badass, and he's somebody that could absolutely break you in half. So I think he's going to do well and have runs in both. I think it's too early to tell heel or babyface in terms of where he'll find the most success, but I have faith that he will do well with both. I don't think he's going to suck at one. He definitely might have one that he's better at. He might be better at one than the other, but I don't think he's going to suck at one. I think he's going to be good at both. For sure. For sure. Mike Witt's got $5. I said it yesterday. The guy I feel sorry for is Dragunov. Wasn't even on Money in the Bank. Dragunov should get a Gunther push, in my opinion. The guy's the real deal. He is, but it's coming, like he just got to the main roster. So the fact that he hasn't gotten a Gunther push yet does not mean he's not going to. I think he's going to be there. Big part of that roster. He's like, I just love these. He's the Benoit of the roster. And I think he's going to get plenty of opportunities. Everybody knows, including WWE and the fans, what he can do. And once there's a place for him to be inserted into some sort of championship situation, then great. But right now, there's no reason to feel bad for him. It's SummerSlam. He's just not factored in to the SummerSlam plans. He just got there. He'll probably still have a match at SummerSlam. He might, Mike, actually wrestle for the Intercontinental title if they make that a multi-man ordeal, which they very well might. If not, still not a big deal. There's plenty of time for Dragunov to get his due, get his pushes, win his championships, all of that. I think he will. And I'm not too worried about Dragunov. I don't think enough time has gone by for me to be worried that he's not being used right. They'll get to him. He'll get his spots. That I can promise you. He's too good not to, Big Glenn. What's up, Big G? Appreciate the $2. Hey, Greg, you coming to Indy for the Royal Rumble? No, I don't want to shit on Indiana. I don't want to shit on your state. Indianapolis is just not a destination for me. I am going to Vegas, though, for WrestleMania. I would love to make it free. I'll tell you what, Big Glenn. If somebody super chats me plane fare and ticket fare, I'll go. I'll cover my hotel. Plane and ticket, I'll come to Indianapolis. Otherwise, I'm probably going to be skipping that one. But Indianapolis has got 3 big shows. They're going to get Royal Rumble next year. They have a future SummerSlam and a future WrestleMania. And that's going to be cool to see WrestleMania in Indianapolis for the first time since WrestleMania 8 in the Hoosier Dome. They now have that beautiful Lucas Oil Stadium, which will make a pretty good setting for WrestleMania. Another thing I like about the Indianapolis location is where it's located. You can have drive-ins now from everywhere. It's so close to so many cities. You know, we got Chicago right there, Detroit, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Philly, New York. All that stuff is relatively drivable. You know, Charlotte is down there and Kentucky, St. Louis, maybe even can all kind of make the trip and kind of converge. And that's a really good city for, you know, fans to, you know, kind of come in from everywhere. And I'm happy for Indianapolis, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be making it to the city for the Rumble. Mab, thank you for the 5, man. Just catching on the stream. Bummer that the crowd didn't translate. We were very loud, but it may have been viewed as bizarro and edited muted. The crowd I didn't notice as being bad, but I noticed they weren't super jacked. There was a couple of times where I thought they would be louder under normal circumstances, and they were a little bit quiet. But I wouldn't call tonight in Ottawa a bad crowd unless I really wasn't paying attention. You let me know. And then Juliet, I got yours about the Cartoon Network. Not sure what's going on there. Dom hangs in a Shark Tank like Jericho, so he can't get involved. That would be good, Brian, but the problem with Dom being in the Shark Tank means that he can't then turn on Ripley, which is what I think needs to happen because Liv has kind of gotten this little angle over. And if this whole thing would have sucked, then when Ripley came back, I just would have done the match right there on TV. Ripley gets her belt back and, you know, continues on to WrestleMania to carry it into that, which I still think she will. But since this angle has been pretty fun and it's gotten over and Liv's done pretty good with it, I would have Liv Morgan hold on to the belt for a little while longer and have Dominic turn on Ripley and help out Liv Morgan winning. And Ripley still wins the belt back and still takes that title into WrestleMania. That's my belief anyway, but maybe it doesn't happen right away at SummerSlam. She loses first and wins it back at the next show. Or maybe at Bad Blood or something like that. We will just have to wait and see. Jacob, I live in Newfoundland and it's 1:54 in the a.m., but it's summer. Right on. It's summer. Stay up all night in summer. So you are what? About 1:54. It's only 9:29 where I live. We're a weird time apart there. But you look to be, 5-6 hours ahead of me. Right on. Well, anyway, we've got other stuff to get into tonight. I got a whole nother overlay for y'all. We got more stuff to get into. We got to talk about AEW. We got to talk about John Cena. We got to talk about SummerSlam. We've got to talk about All In. We have to talk about a lot. And I think one thing we should start with is the John Cena retirement tour. John Cena at Money in the Bank came out and announced his retirement tour for 2025. Now, I released a video the night of Money in the Bank on John Cena's announcement, but we had only limited information at that point. He had done the media press conference and said that his run was going to be throughout the year of 2025. He was going to work 30 to 40 dates. He was going to try to work as many pay-per-views as possible and plans on having a nice little healthy send-off run. And I love this because it sounds like they're really going to try to make this special. And he's not just going to come back, go through the motions, wave his hand and lift his hat and ride off into the sunset. He's here to do things. And I think he should win the championship. I think, and he alluded to that Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank would be a path to getting back to a world championship. And he was asked about breaking Ric Flair's record. And I know Ric Flair's record isn't actually the record, but it's the one that's recognized amongst most fans and in WWE in terms of who has held the most world championships from a major promotion in history. Ric Flair has this record of 16, accurate or not. That's what they're calling it. And John Cena also has won 16 championships. And I have always maintained for the last 5 years or whenever the last time John Cena was champion, I've maintained that before he hangs it up, he will win another championship and he will break Ric Flair's record. But a year went by, another year went by, his bald spot grew bigger. His skin is more pale than ever. He's looking less in pro wrestling ring shape and more of a Hollywood actor, even though John Cena's still ripped and he's still got the John Cena body. He's not looking himself. He dropped a match to Austin Theory at WrestleMania, and I started second guessing whether or not he was going to come back for any sort of a significant run. He can always come back and do a match. The most recent one I remember is I was there, SummerSlam 2021, had the match with Roman Reigns. Nobody was expecting him to win the title that night, but he was in a championship match, main event, but hasn't really been anywhere near that spotlight ever since. So now that his retirement tour is scheduled for next year, I would absolutely find a way to make him champion, whether he wins the Rumble, wins the Money in the Bank, or just scores a championship shot somehow. I would have him win probably the World Heavyweight Championship, to be honest. John Cena never won the Universal title. Luckily, that title only lasted a couple years, and it's now been absorbed into Cody's belt, and it's non-existent. But the World Heavyweight Championship that they just created last year, you would think WWE intends for this championship to have a long legacy. Putting John Cena's name on that legacy is probably something that's very attractive. That's going to be the last belt that John Cena ever holds. Some fans want him to win the Intercontinental title. I don't need that, to be honest. I personally do not believe that Grand Slam accolades are important. Wrestling has so many belts, so much TV, so much pay-per-views. They change hands so often. Even if you're not trying, somebody's going to become a Grand Slam champion pretty easily just because everybody wins every belt. It just doesn't mean as much. So as a fan personally, some other fans might feel differently, but I personally feel that John Cena does not need to win the Intercontinental Championship, and I don't need him to in order to be satisfied with his career. I would much prefer him to win a 17th title and not only break Ric Flair's record, but also give the WWE audience a better or at least equal retirement that Flair had. Because I'll tell you, man, very few things tugged at my heart the way that 2008 retirement did. I thought that was so awesome for Flair. And I said, if you're a wrestler, this is what you yearn for. Should be the whole point of your career, is to have a career where you leave so beloved with millions of people showing you undying appreciation and respect for what you did, with your family and your peers and your kids crying with you as you close this chapter on a remarkable legacy and Hall of Fame career. Only difference is Flair took his ring off, took his watch off, wrestled a few months later, and since then has made a complete ass of himself in real life. John Cena, he's going to do it right. I think John Cena I hope John Cena has the most beautiful retirement ceremony you could ever ask for. I hope he stays retired. He says that after his run, his jorts are going to be retired, and he's not leaving the WWE family. And when he has his last match, that will not be the last time he's on TV. But whenever he does show back up, he's going to be in a suit or whatever. So we are about to see John Cena's whole entire in-ring career come to an end. I'm curious if he's going to stand by his retirement. I hope that he's the one guy, because we've still yet to have the one guy to do it. Even when guys have to retire due to injury, they're coming back, like Adam Copeland. The one guy I thought would keep his word was Shawn Michaels, and he almost did. But that's Saudi money. So maybe Cena can be the guy that actually keeps his word, but you can't even, there's no way to know that. Because even when he's done next year in 2025, who's to say in 2032 for WrestleMania 48 or whatever, they need some big attraction match. Hey, John Cena, we got this guy on the roster. He's kind of like you. You want to come, you want to work a match. 55-year-old John Cena getting back in the ring one more time, just like Steve Austin did against Kevin Owens. You can never rule that out. But I think it would be cool if John Cena's retirement in 2025 was his actual retirement, meaning that he never got in the ring again after that. Who should he work with in his retirement match? I think it should be Cody Rhodes. I do. I think he should pass the baton to Cody. But it could be anybody, really. And I'm curious who he's going to work with throughout the year. If he's going to just have like a retirement tour of matches, or if there's going to be a program or a feud of some kind. And it would be fun to see him hook back up with CM Punk, maybe another match with Randy Orton, but it would also be fun to see him work with some people he hasn't worked with yet. Or maybe one last dream match that we never got. I'm not sure if there's anybody in the company right now that we've never seen him work with that would be worthy of seeing him in the ring with. But there's a lot of great things he can do. And what's great about this is they have a long time to plan for this. There was a lot of planning involved with the bloodline, with Roman Reigns and everything going on with that story. It's very, they're very carefully constructing this story as they go, and they put a lot of time in it, and they have their destinations and they know what they're going to do because they've had time to prepare. And I'm hoping that John Cena's story can be just as good. And we have 2025 as an entire year to say goodbye to him and to what was a very weird chapter in pro wrestling history. I've had John Cena's back my entire time on this channel. You guys know that, and we talked about that recently. But he still has had one of the most unique careers that we've ever seen. He garnered reactions from fans that was different than anybody else ever did. I don't recall any wrestler in all my years watching wrestling that had 50% of the audience cheering him and 50% of them booing him all the time. Competing, Cena sucks, let's go Cena chants. And that was my biggest thing about John Cena. I said, for all you fans that say he sucks and he's boring and he can't wrestle, those are not the attributes of a wrestler who makes every fan in the arena react. Whether you're standing up cheering him or booing him, every single person in every arena that John Cena wrestled in reacted to him. Nobody went to the bathroom. Nobody went and got a beer. They were standing and screaming for him or against him. But they were reacting at the end of the day. And I said, that's the biggest thing about him, is that he garners reaction from everyone. Everyone. When he comes out, ain't nobody being quiet. Nobody's looking at their phone. You either love John Cena or you hate him so badly that you're screaming how much you don't like him. Either way, you screaming and you're creating noise. And that's interesting and unique and something that not a lot of wrestlers had. So we're going to spend the next year talking a lot about John Cena. So get ready. We're going to be taking it old school. This whole channel was born out of kind of defending this guy. And now we're going to watch his retirement together. And what did I say 12 years ago? I said, when he goes into the Hall of Fame, all of you fans with the vile hate that you flung and thrusted on him, you're going to feel bad. And you're probably going to feel like an idiot. And you're going to shed a tear when he retires and when he goes into the Hall of Fame. And I stand by that. Who do you think is going to induct him into the Hall of Fame? Shit, man. I don't even know. A rival? Definitely not Vince McMahon. It could be Brock Lesnar. It could be The Rock, AJ Styles, Roman Reigns. Roman might even be a good one. The current top mega icon inducting the one that had the keys to the store before him. I don't know. Give me your suggestions. I'm curious. That's not coming, assumingly, until 2026. I kind of hope that's what they do. I'm hoping when John Cena retires at the end of 2025, in whatever match, in whatever arena, against whatever opponent he does, I hope he goes into that year's WrestleMania's Hall of Fame. Like right away. Don't wait another year. Do it. Get him in right there. I want to see that. And I'm curious to see who inducts him. It could be Cody. I'm trying to think. I don't know what the right answer is. Is it somebody that has a lot of history with him or might have been influential in his success or person who hired him, or I don't know. And how do you make that decision if you're John Cena? Like, put yourself in John Cena's shoes. Who would you want inducting you? I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Triple H? Who knows? All right, what else is on my news here? We should offer some congratulations to Ethan Page, who last night at NXT Heatwave won the NXT Championship. There was was it a fatal four-way or a triple threat? I forgot what it was. I think it was Yeah, it was a fatal four. Yeah, it was fatal four-way. It was Ethan Page, Shawn Spears, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans, this little guy that's like brand new. And he was in this match. I had never seen him before. But Ethan Page picked up the title in a finish that was recycled from an old MLW match. Shout out to John Alba, our friend who posted this. MJF won this match in MLW, and they basically did the same type of finish where Ethan Page kind of fell, I think, on Javon, fell backwards after, I think, Trick hit him with his move or whatever. And then Trick sees this, tries to stop it, but Shawn Spears grabs his legs and prevents Trick from stopping the 3 count, and Ethan Page kind of wins the title in a fluke, but a lot of people were really happy for him. And we also had a pretty good match between Sol Ruca and the Women's North American Champion, whatever her name was, Roxanne Perez, had a good little title defense as well, and people were saying good things about NXT Heatwave. We had it on last night. We were eyeballing it when we were watching Bash at the Beach 1997, but I did not realize that the card was as good as people are saying it was. So good for them boys and girls in NXT. Proud of you, man. Proud of you. And congrats to Ethan Page. That's got to be pretty sweet for him, you know, who has left AEW, probably had some frustrations there in terms of his utilization and use and just the company in general. He even made comments about that this past week about how it was pretty chaotic there, and here in WWE, it's just a different machine. And he didn't say anything controversial. That's what we've always known, you know? So him being there and winning the title, seeing the company show faith in him, and now giving him the opportunity that maybe some would argue he was never given a chance to have in AEW. Now he has it here, and now it's his chance to sink or swim. Now, if there's, you know, any lack of success, you know, at least he can't really blame the company because they've belted him up pretty early on in his run. That's pretty great. Congrats to Ethan Page. Let's see. Let's move on to this past week's Dynamite. Why don't we talk a little bit about Dynamite? Not going to review this whole show. It's a week old almost, but a couple of things we saw last week that I didn't get to talk about on this weekend's podcast because we didn't have a podcast. But last week on Dynamite, we did see who the wild card in the Owen Hart Cup tournament would be. I predicted it would be Hangman Page, and it was. Hangman Page comes out, and he beats Jeff Jarrett to advance in the Owen Hart tournament. A lot of fans were upset about that. Why would you put Jarrett in it if he wasn't going to win it? I don't know. Why do we always complain about everything? Answer me that. So maybe AEW will answer your question if you can answer mine. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I would not have wanted Jeff Jarrett to win the Owen Hart tournament. Jarrett and Owen have a connection. I think that's why he was in the tournament, to make a story about that, but it wouldn't have been very realistic for him to win. So then some argue, why put him in it to begin with then? I don't know. Why not? I don't think this is a problem. I wouldn't worry too much about it. But Hangman Page did get the victory over Jeff Jarrett to advance, and then he would have another Owen Hart match on Collision on Saturday as well. Excuse me. Pardon me. Let me have a sip of my LaCroix. We also had Britt Baker returning. She returned at Forbidden Door. She didn't do much. She just came out to the ramp, and that was it. But then she was back on Dynamite, introduced by Tony Schiavone. That was very cool. And she came out to the ring. She looks great. It's awesome to see her back, but she did reveal some pretty shocking news that she had a health scare. She gave the name of what this condition is, but it's basically like a mini stroke. So she had like a mini stroke, and Tony Khan gave her as much time off as she needed to fix herself and heal herself and all of that. And she revealed that she is now healthy and ready to go. And she ended up calling out Mercedes Moné, throws out a line about her CEO chant and her theme music to trick the fans into chanting for her, something like that. And she starts throwing shade at Mercedes. And that's when we cut to the Tron or whatever, and Mercedes shows up outside the arena in an SUV. She's met by the Bucks, and they said, hey, your championship celebration party is waiting. Go out to the ring. It's waiting for you. And in the middle of Britt's promo, people start bringing flowers and all this bullshit out to the ring. And then Mercedes comes out for her celebration. But Britt doesn't leave. They have a few words on the mic, which was kind of cool. And it is a cool visual to see those two face to face. When Mercedes, for the past year now, when Mercedes has been rumored to be coming into the company, I said, I can't wait to see her and Britt Baker. And it looks like that's going to be happening because Britt Baker lays down a challenge to Mercedes for All In. That's a big one. That's a real big one. I'm glad we're doing this match on this stage, and I'm glad that the All In card is shaping up to look pretty good. So feels like that match is a done deal. I don't even recall on Wednesday last week if Mercedes agreed to the match or what, but it was a pretty cool segment just to see the two of them in there, and the challenge has been laid down for All In, and I'm sure that is the match we are going to get. We also had Daniel Garcia taking on Will Ospreay. I think this was the main event, right? This is Will Ospreay defending his international title against Daniel Garcia, who has, in recent weeks, formed an alliance with MJF. And MJF is, kind of been encouraging Daniel Garcia a little bit. And MJF is, kind of been a babyface, which many argue isn't his best work. Everybody wants him as a heel. Well, they got their wish here. After Will Ospreay successfully defended his championship against Daniel Garcia, during the match, MJF tried to offer Garcia the brass knucks, but Garcia didn't want to win it that way. Ospreay was able to take advantage, win the match. And after the match, MJF is consoling Daniel Garcia. Don't worry about it, man. You had a good outing. You got nothing to be ashamed of. You should be proud. And then he turns on him. Thank God. I'm so glad this happened. MJF knocks him out, bloodies up Daniel Garcia. This prompts Will Ospreay to actually come back to the ring. And we knew ever since that first little interaction on TV between MJF and Ospreay that it's probably going to be MJF and Ospreay at All In. Now, with MJF fully going heel and on Dynamite, we also saw Ospreay distancing himself from the Callis family, telling Don Callis that he still thinks considers him a friend and he appreciates what he's done, but he has to get out of this. He's requesting to be let go from the Callis family, and Callis lets him go, but says he might owe him a favor in the future. So we'll see how that shakes out, but I have a feeling that could play into this MJF and Ospreay match at All In. And I think that's a pretty awesome match to do, having Ospreay battle MJF. That's a big match, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So now that MJF is back to being a heel, I think that's best. And I'm glad that he turned on Daniel Garcia. And I guess we're going to have to get MJF and Daniel Garcia at some point as well now, too. Just maybe at Blood and Guts or something. I don't know. Now, Blood and Guts is coming up on July 24th. I guess it's going to be Team Elite versus Team AEW. I think so far just Mark Briscoe has been the only guy to declare for it or say, I'll be on Team AEW, whatever, man, I don't care. So it's going to be Briscoe and a whole bunch of guys taking on the Elite, I guess, and that will be on July 24th. We could see Hangman in that match, too, possibly. Maybe that's where he does the turn, because right now he's not wanting to be with the Elite. The Elite are trying to welcome Hangman back, but at least on camera, he doesn't want anything to do with them yet. We will have to see if that changes. Also, we had Owen Hart Cup matches. We now have the final set on Dynamite last week. We had Willow defeating Chris Statlander, and then on Rampage, we had Mariah May defeating Hikaru Shida. So we expected Mariah May to make it all the way to the finals and win it, and it looks like she probably is going to do that. And then on the men's side of things, we saw Bryan Danielson defeat Pac in a great match on Wednesday as well, and he advances to the finals of the Owen to take on Hangman Page, who beat Jay White in a bloody match on Collision on Saturday to advance to the finals. So the finals of the men and women's Owen Hart Cup are as follows: Willow Nightingale versus Mariah May, and Hangman Page versus Bryan Danielson. Now, I have been under the assumption ever since the wild card announcement was made that the wild card would be Hangman Page. Hangman Page would win the tournament, and he would go on to face Swerve at All In and probably win the title and join the Elite. So far, he doesn't want anything to do with the Elite, but I don't think that means anything quite yet. The Elite could show up and help him beat Swerve at All In. Or Hangman Page might lose to Danielson. Danielson gets the title shot at All In against Swerve, and maybe Swerve works with Hangman at All Out. Because if Danielson doesn't beat Hangman, what does Danielson do at All In? We know that Nigel has been talking shit about Danielson for like a year or two on commentary. There's been rumors for the past year that was going to be the match for All In, but I don't even know how you really get there unless Nigel leaps off commentary during Hangman and Danielson and costs Danielson the match or something. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Danielson at All In if he doesn't get a title shot. So I am not convinced that my Hangman prediction is correct, because since he's not linked up with the Elite yet, he could lose. You know, maybe he has to enlist the Elite's help to get him back to the title, or maybe if he loses to Danielson, then Danielson goes to All In to face Swerve and Swerve beats him. That would actually be great. That would be a huge victory for Swerve in a championship match in a stadium show against a Hall of Famer. That would be great for him. But then maybe the Elite, the Bucks, step up for Hangman and just book him in a match with Swerve. And after Swerve, just 1 week after Swerve has the title defense of his life, much like he did at Forbidden Door against Will Ospreay, he has to turn around and now face a Hangman Page who has been gifted a championship shot by his friends, and then they help him win, and the Elite now has all the gold, all of it. With the exception of maybe Will Ospreay's belt that MJF could possibly be holding. MJF might be the only non-Elite member holding gold on the other side of All In. So it could go that way as well. Danielson and Swerve first, Hangman and Swerve after, or Hangman just straight up beats Danielson this week on Dynamite and wins the tournament. But it's in Canada, man, and a babyface winner might be better, especially since, you know, Mariah May is probably going to win it for the women, and she's going to beat Willow somehow. Because I don't know if they want to have Willow be a two-time winner. I wouldn't be against it. I love Willow Nightingale. If she's a two-time Owen winner, great for her. But I think it would be more fun if Mariah May wins and has to go in to face Toni Storm at All In. That would be the much better story. So Mariah May winning, you know, and she's kind of a silly, kind of obnoxious character. Maybe you need somebody like Danielson to have that feel-good, you know, trophy thing with, you know, for the Owen Cup. Danielson and Owen are a lot alike. They both throw that flat back bump missile drop kick from the top. I always cringe when both guys did that. Danielson's a lot like Owen, you know, so if he won the championship, or I'm sorry, won the tournament, I'd be perfectly fine with that. And maybe that's what they do. Danielson wins the tournament, faces Swerve at All In and loses, and then Hangman completes his, not turn, but his alliance with the Elite. Because I think Elite, Hangman needs to be with the Elite. I just feel like he does. And if he wins the championship and you got all that gold over there, that could be fun. So we will see what turns out to happen there. We should mention that on Collision, Jungle Jack Perry, or I guess he's not Jungle Jack anymore, he's just Jack. Jack Perry had a TNT Championship Open Challenge. Who answered his Open Challenge? Marco Stunt. I had no idea. It was funny. We were watching Money in the Bank. We did the watch party on Saturday. Somebody in the chat said, because people don't write in complete sentences in the chat, so they just said, Marco Stunt, answer, Jungle or Jack Perry challenge. And I thought it was a suggestion. I thought they were saying, hey, what if Jack Perry did an open challenge and Marco Stunt answered the challenge? And I said, that's a great idea. I like that. I had no idea the person was telling me that the match had happened. And Jack Perry had an open challenge. Marco Stunt returns to the company and challenges Jungle Boy, and Jack Perry annihilated him. Absolutely annihilated him. There's that one spot where he just rammed him face first into the bottom turnbuckle. My God. I loved this. I thought it was great to see Marco Stunt come back. I don't know if they're going to sign him up to another deal or anything, but the fact that he was able to come back, he was a big part of those early days of AEW, Jurassic Express. Met Marco Stunt on the Jericho Cruise. He's a fun little feller. But he was no match for Jack Perry here, and that was pretty awesome. So that, plus the Hangman and Jay White match, which is a sexy match on paper, and it got bloody. I really enjoyed that. Looked like a pretty solid Collision. And I saw a little bit of Rampage too, because we had Mariah May beating Hikaru Shida. So I did a pretty good job this week, I think, of catching myself up on the AEW side of things. And when you look at All In now, like, check this out. Here's likely what we have for All In. It's going to be Swerve Strickland versus either Hangman Page or Danielson, Tony Storm and Mariah May, MJF and Will Ospreay, and Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné. So that's 4 pretty big matches for your card right there when you look at them on paper. I mean, it really is. And what do you think I'm missing here? The Bucks are probably going to defend against the Acclaimed, most likely, so we can add that match. Christian, right? Christian and the Patriarchy are going to go after the trios. Is that going to be a heel versus a heel thing there with BG Gold, or is Jay White and the boys going to go babyface? Or are they babyface already? Maybe they're already babyface. I don't know. That's probably going to be a match. I would love if Kenny was able to come back. One match that had been on our radar for quite some time for All In was Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada. Okada's got a title on him right now. They did do a storyline angle to get Kenny off of TV with the Elite kind of firing him. So there's a waiting angle for him to come back. It just depends on what Kenny's health is like. We don't know. I don't know. I don't talk to him. I like Kenny. He's one of my favorite wrestlers in the world, and I hope he's doing splendidly, and I hope his recovery is coming along well, and I hope he's back. Because in addition to all these great matches already kind of penciled in for All In, think about adding Kenny and Okada to that. Oh, baby. So, yeah, I really hope that it can be that. If not, I don't know who Okada would work with, if he works with anyone. But I think the card's looking pretty nice so far for All In. We also should mention on WWE's end of things, one thing we did not talk about was last week's SmackDown that aired in Toronto, night before Money in the Bank. We did, in fact, see, as we predicted, new tag team champions crowned, DIY winning the titles, beating Waller and Theory in the same building that they won them on that takeover like 8 years ago with the Revival holding hands during the double submission. Great stuff. They almost kind of did the same finish here, and DIY won the tag team titles on SmackDown. Congrats to them. I think that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at for my notes, but I know I'm probably missing a lot. We can talk about anything I failed to bring up. I have not yet seen, we're probably going to watch it tonight, hopefully, maybe not. I have still yet to watch WrestleMania Behind the Curtain. Just haven't gotten around to it. I had a long week of work this week. I've been doing a lot of YouTube work as well, and I haven't had time to just sit down and bust out that hour-long documentary. Elizabeth and I might watch it tonight. And then if I offer any comments on it, maybe I'll pop in while I'm in Hawaii and give you guys some thoughts on WrestleMania Behind the Curtain. Everybody's doing that Rock meme. I haven't even got a chance to do it because I haven't seen the damn documentary yet. I want to play. I can't play, though, because I haven't seen it. And I don't think it's fair to play the meme game unless you've seen the documentary. We will see. All right, let's go back up here and answer some questions. Isaac, good point, Isaac. The one thing I love is that Triple H is handling Cena's farewell tour, and I have more faith in him than Vince handling it. Also wishing you a safe trip. Thank you, man. I do too. I'm happy that this regime is going to be in charge of Cena's farewell. And just keep Vince out of it. Just keep him out of it completely. I think it's going to be good. I have faith that they're going to give us fans a good Cena send-off and offer a good amount of closure. That's all I want. That's all I want. Let me see. Mike Witt, $2. Orton versus Cena at next year's Mania. Book it. Maybe. Orton and Cena, those matches, they worked a lot of pay-per-views in a row at one point. Fans were really tired of that match. You know what I think would be more fun? You know what I personally think would be more fun than a Randy Orton and John Cena match? Would be a Randy Orton and John Cena championship tag team. Why not? Just for like 2 months. Put them together. Have them win the SmackDown tags or something. Orton and Cena, just for fun. Just for fun. One little match. That's going to be hard to get the belts off of them, though. But I'd almost rather see that. But Randy Orton and John Cena having a match I'm not against. I don't know if I would want it at Mania, though. I just don't know. I'm curious who's going to win the Rumble now and stuff. I kind of still think it should be Seth Rollins winning the Rumble and challenging Cody Rhodes, or Seth winning the Chamber and challenging Cody Rhodes. But I think it's got to be the Rumble so he can challenge either champion. And the Rumble winner is the one that has the ability or the freedom to switch brands. And I think Seth, since he's already been World Heavyweight Champion, and that's kind of run its course on Raw, and Gunther's probably going to carry the title into mostly the end of the year, I think Seth should win the Rumble and challenge his buddy, Cody. But we also could get Cody and The Rock at WrestleMania. I don't know yet. Juliet's got 5 for us. Jordan Grace revealed her TNA contract expires in January. Okay. So she will probably officially sign with WWE in January. And I think it's cool that they have a working agreement with TNA, and hopefully that holds through next year so she can maybe still make some appearances. It's kind of how AEW's got that deal with New Japan, and we had, Tanahashi chasing down Okada. That's great. I like that. Mike Witt's got $2. Wonder if Jay White regrets going to AEW. I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think he's being used improperly or anything. You got to remember, there's just one world championship, so everybody can't be champion at the same time. And Jay White, I think the faction is very entertaining. Juice Robinson and those two little twerps, those ass boys, are hilarious. I don't even mind them altogether, but they do seem to be like a Rampage act and a Collision act. So you got a point there. And maybe Jay White hasn't achieved the heights that fans kind of thought he would when he came in, but that doesn't mean that he can't. And AEW certainly has issues with kind of keeping guys on the back burner or taking their time, pushing someone or realizing someone is there. They could definitely fuck up Jay White. I just think it's a little bit early to tell that yet. There is a lot of championship belts in that company, and a lot of them currently are being occupied by the elite. But once you get the international and the continental and the TNT, spread out among other talents, I think any of those belts would be available for Jay White to challenge for and even win. And hopefully one day he'll get a crack at the championship as well and be in the mix. I think Jay White should be presented as AEW's Seth Rollins in my mind, So I don't think he regrets going there, but again, I don't talk to him, just like Kenny. I could try to text Jay White. Hey man, you happy about AEW? Are you mad you went there? Oh, Denny Downbad. Good point. Okay, so who brought that up about John Cena and Mike Witt did. So John Cena and Randy Orton at WrestleMania, they have never had a one-on-one Mania match. There was a triple threat or something they were involved with, right? But never one-on-one. Okay, fair enough. But what are the stakes? What are we doing it for? Just for fun? Randy Orton could be a heel then. If he turns heel and winds up feuding with Cody Rhodes and we have heel Randy Orton, that's not going to be a one-off match. Heel Randy Orton and John Cena, that's probably going to be a whole nother program. And I don't know if John Cena wants to spend half of the last year in the ring feuding with the one guy he feuded with more than anybody else. That's my only hesitation with doing stuff with Randy Orton. Oh, Tito, you're getting a shout out. Hey, buddy. Hey, bud. I'm about to leave Tito. He's going to be very sad. Ooh, Stone Cold. See, that I'm not doing. I want John Cena to win his 17th title. I believe he will. But not winning the Rumble and then winning a match with Roman at Mania. I think Roman is going to be with Rock or something. It's going to be Roman and Rock or Rock and Cody or something. They just did Roman and Cena at SummerSlam. That's not going to... John Cena is not going to beat Roman Reigns for the championship. Like I said earlier, if John Cena is going to win a 17th world title, I would have him win the world title, because now they can always say with that championship that's probably going to have a way longer legacy than the Universal title did in WWE, because Vince McMahon is not there to just unify belts willy-nilly. So this belt will probably actually have a legacy that will last years and years, and you can always refer back to that belt as the last belt that John Cena ever held. Just might be a nice little tagline involved with that belt. And that going down as the final and record-breaking championship that Cena wins. It's kind of twofold. He's winning the belt for the first time. He's winning that particular championship for the first time. It's also going to be the last championship he holds, and it's going to be a record-breaking victory when he beats Ric Flair. That's 3 things that happen in one victory, and I think that's what he needs to do. So I vote World Heavyweight Championship for Cena to win, not the undisputed WWE title. That's what I believe. The last time John Cena and Orton faced was February 2017. That's 7 years ago. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, should be mentioned also on Heatwave last night, Joe Hendry did show up at the very end. I think WWE should just buy TNA. Get that video library on Peacock and we could start doing TNA watch-alongs. What do y'all say? Y'all into that, man? All right. Well, luckily this podcast went way less time than I thought. I thought I was going to be up here for 3 hours, but luckily I feel like we've wrapped it up. So yeah, I'm going to miss y'all. I'm going on vacation, man. I'm going to be on a plane tomorrow, heading to Hawaii, tropical heat wave, and enjoying life out there. I will upload or record some YouTube shorts on my trusty little iPhone right here and upload them to the channel. If anything crazy happens, if we get a major development, I'll turn my phone on, record a video, and upload it. I promise. Also, keep a lookout for YouTube shorts. And this coming Thursday, I will be dropping my Bret Hart SummerSlam video. Wednesday, we will have members only video number 1, and Friday, members only video number 2. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you're a member, you got 3 videos. If you're not, you just have 1. And that's the only content I really have pre-recorded and ready for upload while I'm gone. Anything else you see from me will be on the YouTube shorts or a quick uploaded video or social media. Shoot me a follow on the Twitters at Good Mic Work, because I'm sure I will be posting updates and pictures and bullshit over there if you guys want to talk to me. I wish you a great rest of your week. Thank you again for hanging out with us tonight. If you don't mind, smash that thumbs up button on the way out the door, and let me also thank Mike Witt for $2 more. I did hear a possibility of Jimmy returning Friday. Jimmy Uso, I'm sure, is due back at some point. So we'll see if he attacks the existing bloodline or what happens there, or if he joins them again. I've kind of lost track of where Jimmy's heart is these days. But I'm sure Jimmy will be back at some point as well. And we will be moving into the fall pretty shortly here to start setting up that big War Games Civil War that we're guessing is going to happen. But we got a lot that happens before then. Thank you so much for being here tonight, guys. Thank you so much. I will miss you while I am gone, but I will be back. And when I do get back, we're going to have a lot to catch up on. So probably a week from this Saturday will be my return podcast, where we're here to talk about a lot, and we will be talking about a lot. You guys have a good rest of your Monday night, and I will be talking to you real soon. Peace.